Harold Perrineau plays Boyd Stevens in from I'm Matt Noble, a Gold Derby. Wanted to start things off by asking Harold, as the world and sort of answers sort of come out in the world of From, what fascinates you the most?
What do you mean about from, or you mean about like the audience and stuff? Which one do you
I
mean?
would say about From and about where this story and show is going.
Oh, okay. Well, like look, answers keep coming, but it keeps what keeps being really, really interesting is how people keep adapting. Like a new thing happens and the entire, group keeps adapting. And now this, with this second season and the whole bus load of people who are there, who have to adapt to their new circumstances, and the people who've been there have to adapt to these new people. That's the thing that keeps fascinating me, that I find really, really interesting and fun about watching it, about the characters who are on the show. Yeah, that's the part I enjoy the most. Like the adaptivity of everybody. It's like, oh wait, that's happening. I think people are listening to us. Let me tell everybody I can. And so it's kind of cool.
Uh, let's focus in on that with Boyd. How has he had to adapt this season?
Well, if I'm being really honest, he's not adapting well. That's what I
Fair.
can say honestly. He's actually having a hard time this season because this season Boyd has seen enough things that he's no longer sure if he's thinking clearly, if he's in an alternate reality, if he's in some type of coma, if he's somewhere just waiting for waiting to wake up, and then his wife and his kid will be there, and he's just be like, "Oh, I just had the craziest dream. I was on Dallas, and I woke up." No, and it's a reference for all of us older folks.
I like it.
But yeah, this season he's not adapting so well, especially in these first couple of episodes that we've come through. But you'll see all of that change. It's a real funky season for Boyd. He's not as sure footed second season as he was the first season.
And as like your character adapts or struggles to adapt, as they sort of struggle with new things and even new actors coming onto the show, like new situations around, do you as an actor have to adapt as well?
Of course, yeah, of course. You've got new energies on the show. You got new energies mixing with older energies, and watching how those things, play out. And it's really been great because we've had a great group of people show up that are just really fantastic additions to our cast. And I can't say enough about them and how they're doing. And watching the audience adapt to them is actually really, really funny. So it's really, really cool. It's interesting.
Yeah, how does having like being on a show, it's in your second season, but have a new
Right,
like group of characters coming into that world and into that show, how does
right.
that sort of affect you as an actor? Sort of
Yeah, yeah,
working with old people and new people at the same time.
yeah. It actually is pretty helpful for me because, um, they're new characters on the show, and they are new to our into our our family, as people keep calling it. And so yeah, you have to like catch up to their energies and figure out, like I know how to do my work, but how I do my work in concert with your work is really kind of an interesting process. And so some people have gotten to deal with quite a lot, and some people just a little bit. And it's really fun. One of the things I really like about acting, getting to meet other artists and actually collaborating and making something really interesting, or not. But I think so far we've made a lot of really interesting things. And I really like that about it. And so, me and AJ, who have a really contemptuous relationship on screen, which is Boyd and Randall, we get along quite great. And the better that we get along, the more contentious their relationship gets on screen, because we trust each other some more. And so the two of them really start going at it in the second season. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the last times we spoke, you talked about the like how much you valued collaboration and
Yes.
sort of in an ensemble show or just in life probably as well, I'm guessing. But the like we have seen with the new busload of people and also with sort of maybe the blurring of the lines between Colony House and the rest of the town this
Right.
season, like different and new opportunities for collaboration for you. How have in the second season, how do you sort of look to serve each other with that collaboration?
You know, I think the second season is scarier for the audience, right? I think the second season is scarier for the characters. And so Colony House or Town, what's happening now has never happened before, even before Boyd got there. So Victor is experiencing new things. The trees are doing something new. Donna is experiencing something new. And so it no longer seems to be, how do we just kind of like exist in this world? There was a time of, I guess before the beginning of the first season, there was a time of peace or accord, as it were. You had the town, you had the colony house, and then you had the creatures that came out at night. And everybody seemed to play their role. There wasn't too much going down, but the Matthews family showed up, and it all just went to hell. It just all exploded. So this season, it's really, really even more sort of exploded because it just keeps picking up. And even when the episodes, it seems like it's just giving you a little bit of information. That little bit of information just sort of turns the dial just a little bit to make your anxiety just a little bit, heightened. And so Colony House or Town, each of those characters are now just a little more heightened. And I think then the audience gets, even though you don't even realize it, you're becoming more tense. And so that when like some of the action is about to come, it's really going to unravel in ways that are, I think are going to be really interesting for people to watch.
What surprised you most in the storylines of this show?
I didn't expect Boyd. I didn't expect Boyd so quickly to start seeming so fragile, and that's what he seems. And even as I watch it now as an audience member, he reminds me of men who got older in my family, and like they suddenly seem really fragile right before, anyway, they seem really fragile at this point in their life. But I look up and I see that kind of like, oh, it's this is starting to go downhill. There's no more upward trajectory, and so I'm watching it happen with Boyd, and it's reminiscent of things that happened in my own life. And so I didn't expect to have to go through that so quickly. Season 2, it's only season 2, and the guy's breaking down. And I didn't expect to respond to it in the same way that I'm responding to it as I watch it. It's been really interesting.
Was it a challenge for you as an actor, or because you could draw on sort of experiences from your own life, was that sort of something you could tap into quite easily?
The challenge for me was more of a challenge for Jack Bender and Jeff Pinkner, because I kept saying, "Hey, man, is this terrible? Is this terrible? Am I? It feels terrible. I don't know." I kept feeling fragile, and then I started questioning Harold, the actor. I started going like, "Wait, am I doing this? Am I doing this right? Is this right?" And I can see it when I watch it that I'm a little questioning it, and I think it serves perfectly. I think it does. And so I wish I could sound more sure-footed about it, but as I'm watching it, it just seems like he's teetering on the edge, and I feel it as an audience member and as the actual actor. I'm like, oh man, I hope I did this right.
Like, is that like, because you can have characters that are very like stable and strong, and Boyd was that for a lot of the first season. You can also have characters that are complete basket cases and just don't have things together at all. Is like it like a bit more challenging playing that teetering on the edge, where you sort of got to weigh those two things up? Where is he going to be strong? Where is he going to be sort of fragile?
Yeah, I actually personally find it. I actually personally find it challenging, basically because of the way that I approach the work. Because it is such a personal way that I approach the work. That the responses are my responses based on this set of circumstances that the characters find themselves in. And so when Boyd is teetering, I'm teetering. You know what I mean? Like I'm actually teetering, and it makes it really, really tricky, which is why you have to have a really great cast that's able to like, you're able to watch them go through things, they're able to watch you go through things, and there's a certain amount of trust. Nobody gets overly excited or nervous or anything like that. They just keep going. I got nervous about myself, but never nervous about anyone else, nor did anyone else get nervous about me. So yes, I find it tricky for myself. It's really rewarding if it works. It's really rewarding if it works, and I think it's working. But it is fraught with danger and fear. That's what it feels like all the time. So
If like, you know, Boyd teetering gets you teetering a bit, Harold, what do you
yeah.
do after one of those intense scenes to sort of calm yourself down or get out of that sort of mindset?
There are a number of days that I had to like, the day was over and I get a knock on the trailer because I just had to sit down. It's like, hey man, we want to go home and we want to move the trailer. Can you come on out? So quite often, sometimes I just have to go and sit down and refocus myself. You know what I mean? Mostly because we're out there in Halifax, sometimes out, just out in no man's land, really late at night. And the reason I have to focus up is because it's suddenly really dark out. There aren't really lights, and I can't afford to be wandering. And I get wandery, so I literally have to sit. I have to sit and focus to kind of bring myself back to Harold, where I am, where I'm going, and then get up and go do that. So that's usually what I do. When I was younger, I used to just get drunk. I don't do that anymore, but that wasn't ever helpful. But
Yeah.
now I just focus on.
Mm. Do you have a favorite scene from season 2? Something that was just a lot of fun to put together or shoot?
I don't know if I have a favorite scene. I have a number of favorite moments, and a lot of them have to do with working with Ricky He, who plays Kenny,
Mm.
who's so talented and so vulnerable, and um, watching him start to stand up and develop this thing as Boyd is getting like smaller and smaller, is really really it really was like playing a really great game of tennis, just back and forth. And so we have a lot of scenes throughout the season of them just ping ponging back in this kind of like, like male dominance kind of thing, all oddly with an undercurrent of love for each other, because they're in this desperate situation where
Mm.
at the end of the day they really only have each other. Like the people only have each other because the monsters aren't on your side, or whatever else is out there just isn't on your side. And I know I feel like I talk about it like it's real, but that's what it feels like. But yeah, a lot of the scenes with me and Ricky He, Boyd and Kenny, are really some of my favorites. Yeah.
It's such like an intense show in a lot of ways. Boyd's
Right.
obviously going through a lot this season. Is it ever fun to shoot, or do you have to be in that sort of teetering, vulnerable state the whole time?
Oh no, hell yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun. There's a bunch of stuff that's the audience hasn't seen yet, and so I don't know where this interview is going to go. But there's a bunch of stuff that comes up. When they there's a bunch of stuff that comes up that's really really fun, that I didn't expect was going to come again this season. There's a lot of there are a lot of new interactions that our townspeople are gonna they're going to be happy about, and then also be what happens in the town is you get really happy and then it all gets taken away. And so, so a lot of those things are going to be a lot of fun to watch, and they were a lot of fun to shoot. They some of them feel desperate, but the only way to get through them is to make jokes, and so there were a lot of things that we had to do a lot of joking about. Our special effects team, just to be really clear, they're geniuses.
Yeah.
They're geniuses. Our special effects team, the special makeup team, geniuses. Some of the stuff was so gross that you could only laugh your way until they said action. Like, oh my God, do you see that? Action. Okay. Like, really, really good stuff. Really good stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What like you were in TV for a while, like
Yeah.
going back to Oz, which in a lot of ways, like, sort of was like premium cable drama
Yeah.
pre-Sopranos.
Yeah.
Like, so is there anything from that experience on Oz that you've just taken with you and that sort of has impacted the way you approach roles today?
Yeah. Look, Oz, like Oz is, there wasn't a dramatic show on premium cable TV at all. There were some comedies like Dream On and the Larry Sanders Show, but there were no dramatic shows. So when Oz came along, we were the first dramatic show. And the way Tom Fontana writes is with, um, he writes with such fearlessness that it helped me become fearless. Some of the things that happened in that prison, some of the things that those guys did to each other, um, they were they were they were really really on the edge, and so I kind of learned. There's a kind of like artistic fearlessness that I got from doing that show. There's you see two men in a corner uh, having oral sex, and they look at each other, and then other guy snaps the dude's neck. You're like, yeah, man, I don't know how this is going to work on TV because at the time, like, we hadn't seen anything like that.
Yeah.
Or one guy gets a chair put in his face and another guy sits and defecates in his mouth. At the time, you don't know how that's going to work, but you're just like, you know what? If this is the end, we're going to go out with a bang. And so there's a kind of fearlessness I have. Like, I feel like if we could make it through that, if we could do all that stuff, and then it starts this whole revolution of people doing The Sopranos, Sex and the City showed up afterwards. I mean, all the way up to then to Game of Thrones, all the kind of stuff. Yeah, man, if we could do that, I could do anything after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're also an awards website, so we cover the entertainment
Right.
awards. Lost won Best Drama Series at the
Right.
Emmys for that first season. Just one of the big
It should
memories
have.
I
It
have.
was great.
Yeah. Oh,
It was great.
awesome. And one of the like big memories I have of that first season is you as Michael, like, lifting off on that raft at the end of the season.
Yeah.
It's one of the
Yeah.
real sort of uplifting moments of the series. Can you
Right.
just, like, very quickly take us back to that moment and, like, what was going on in your head as that raft sort of launched?
Hey, that stuff was really, really great. And I've told the story a few times. I don't know if I've told you this story, but we never got the scripts, until right before we shot them. And then the final script, and this was the first year I had ever seen anything like that. We got, most of the pages, but not all the pages. So they were launching off into this thing. And then we got the last page, and it's Michael screaming Walt. And we were like, what? I don't even understand what happened. What just happened? What just happened? So we show up the day. We're going into the harbor in Hawaii. We're like, okay, yeah. This is the raft. And they're like, okay, we're gonna tell you what happens. You guys are on the raft, and you see some people. We're like, yes. And then those people come, and you're like, we're saved, and you think it's all gonna be great. And they jump on the boat. And they say, give me the kid. And I go, what? And they take you and they throw you in the water, and then they take the kid. And I was like, time out. I don't even know how to swim. I don't know how to swim. And they all looked at me like, what do you mean you don't know how to swim? You're like 40 years old. What's wrong with you? I didn't know how to swim. So for me, that we don't talk about like doing stuff that's fearless. We were just like, well, they didn't tell me before. Today is the day. I hope I don't drown. so we went out and we did that on the water all night long. And so we were exhausted. It was really scary. There are guys under the water who are protecting us from sharks. It was all crazy. And so that's why I say it should have won. It was a really fun, outrageous year. So I'm glad that year we won the Emmy. It was a great.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
it's a shame, From's a pretty landlocked show, so you don't get to use those swimming skills.
I don't think we are. I don't think we are lacking in the crazy though.
No,
That's
that's very fair.
I don't think we are lacking in the crazy or in the greatness. I actually think it's such a great show. So, hopefully, we'll get the same kind of nod at some point ourselves because I think it's a great show.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Harold, thank you so much for chatting with us today. People
Yeah,
watching this interview
man.
can go to goldderby.com to follow the Emmy coverage for this year. And speaking of
Yeah.
which, Harold, all the best of luck for the Emmy Awards this year for From.
Thanks, bro.
And just thanks so much for your time.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for talking to me.
Yeah, no worries. It's always so fun.